This week on the RV podcast.
Here we go again. Now there's talk of another massive budget cut for the National Park Service and a proposal that would turn some federal land over to the states.
A new survey reveals what's number one on the bucket list for campers over 55.
And in Mike and Jen's Storytime, when things go wrong, a roadway cautionary tale.
All this, plus the RV news of the week and your questions coming up in episode 546 of the RV podcast.
Hello, everybody. I am Mike Wendland, and this is my lifelong traveling companion and my bride, Jennifer. Hello, my dear.
Hello, my Michael.
This is a week that we pack up and hit the road again. We will be spending a week over in the southeastern side of Michigan, visiting some friends and family in the next week and doing some more camping. The weather could still be a little warmer up here in Michigan where we are right now, but spring is coming. The flowers are out. The trees are almost ready to burst forth in leaf.
And my hummingbirds are back.
There you go. It doesn't get any better than that, right?
Spring.
Jumping right into the RV news of the week, we have a bunch of news for you. President Trump's new budget plan is causing quite a stir, especially when it comes to our national parks.
His proposal would slash the National Park Service budget by almost 25%. We're talking about cutting more than $1.2 billion from their $4.8 billion budget. And get this, he wants to hand over many parks, monuments, and historic sites to the states to manage.
Now, Congress has to weigh in on this. And as we have seen so far this year, what the administration proposes usually ends up being modified a bit or changed or abandoned entirely after a bunch of political wrangling. Still, this is not good news for our national parks.
And as you can imagine, conservation groups are absolutely livid about this.
Teresa Purno, she's from the National Parks Conservation Association, doesn't mince any words. She calls this an all-out assault on America's national parks, and she thinks it's the most extreme budget proposal for the Park Service in its entire 109-year history. This comes after the Department of Governmental Efficiency, those DOGE guys, already ordered staff cuts, and Interior Secretary Doug Burgum floated some concerning plans of his own.
Park advocates are really worried about what all this means for the future of these treasured public lands. But just so you know, this whole budget thing is really just getting started. What Trump's put forward is basically a wish list that shows what his administration cares about, but it's far from a done deal.
Again, Congress has the final say in the budget, and they'll need to approve whatever eventually becomes law. We should get more details when the administration shares their complete budget request with Congress sometime later this month. But if these cuts actually happen, it wouldn't be good.
Yeah, they'd be the biggest the National Park Service has ever faced. And here's something pretty unprecedented. It's the first time any president has suggested transferring national park sites to state control and removing them from the national system.
That is not something that a president can just do, but it would need Congress to pass a law, literally, to make that happen. So there's a long road ahead before any of this might become reality.
And the proposal is just the first step in what will be months of negotiating and debate. Bottom line for RVers, travel on. Right now, this is just political noise and won't have any effect on your national park travel plans this year.
All right. For the over 55 crowd, listen up on this. Bouncing off our chat about the possible changes to national park funding is a new survey that shows just how much these treasured spaces mean to people over 55.
According to the latest research from the Dirt Camping app, a whopping 80% of campers over 55 say they're dreaming about visiting a national park for their retirement adventures.
And beyond just visiting the 63 national parks, what else are older campers planning? About 74% are excited about hitting the open road with no particular destination. 64% want to discover more free camping spots.
And the over 55 RV crowd is already pretty savvy at finding those no-cost camping gems. The report shows nearly 63% of retired campers enjoyed free camping last year, which is more than 11% higher than the average camper.
All right. For you Michigan outdoor enthusiasts, heads up if you are planning to visit Munising Falls, the Upper Peninsula, anytime soon. That's one of the many sites that we love. We recommend it highly in our book, by the way, our RV travel guide book to the Upper Peninsula. But Mother Nature has thrown us a curveball.
The National Park Service announced that the Munising Falls Trails and Pictured Rocks National Lakeshore is completely closed after a significant portion of the trail was washed away.
According to park officials, about 75 feet of the paved pathway collapsed last week thanks to a combination of recent heavy rainfall and all that spring snowmelt that they've been experiencing up there. Park Service shared a photo showing that damage, and it is pretty substantial.
If you're not familiar with it, it's normally a quick and easy 800-foot walk one way to view the impressive 50-foot waterfall, perfect for visitors of all ages and abilities.
Now, unfortunately, park officials were very clear. There is currently no safe access point to view Munising Falls. Travel in the Munising Falls area is strictly prohibited to protect both visitor safety and sensitive natural resources. Park Service hasn't provided any timeline when repairs might be completed. If you've been to the UP in the springtime, you know how powerful that water can be. And if you're headed to Pictured Rocks, you want to adjust your plans and check out some of the other beautiful areas in that park. All right, we got a big story here that involves a terrible incident that happened at Bryce Canyon. It claimed 2 people's lives last week.
And a story that's equally part heartbreaking and miraculous. A feline survivor has emerged from last week's tragic accident at Bryce Canyon National Park. While 2 tourists tragically lost their lives after falling 380 feet, rescuers were stunned to discover their cat had somehow survived the devastating plunge.
Officials said that the female tabby cat, about 12 years old, was found inside a black soft-sided carrier that, despite being dirty and torn, had seemed to weather the fall fairly well.
The remarkable survival of the senior cat truly amazed those who investigated the accident. No word yet on what will happen to this resilient feline, but it certainly was an extraordinary escape from a terrible tragedy.
All right, if you want more information about any of this, you can find it in the show notes page for our podcast, and you find that at rvlifestyle.com/podcast. If you have any comments, anything you just heard, or any questions, you can email us directly. Our private email is mikeandjen@rvlifestyle.com.
This part of the podcast is brought to you by Keystone RV's Montana line of luxury fifth wheels. Our own Montana High Country has been our home on wheels for the past 2 years, traveling thousands of miles across North America. We often joke that it's our luxury condo on wheels. That's how comfortable the living experience truly is.
Montana sets the gold standard in luxury fifth wheels, combines superior craftsmanship with continuous innovation, and every model features thoughtful touches like expansive living spaces, residential-style kitchens, and constructions that have been tested to withstand everything from cross-country adventures to winter camping.
Choosing a Montana isn't just about buying an RV. It's about embracing a lifestyle where luxury and adventure meet at every mile.
Visit KeystoneRV.com and discover why Montana continues to be the choice for RVers who refuse to compromise on quality and comfort. Time now for the RV Conversation of the Week. And this week we want to have a conversation about an issue that continues to reverberate across the RV community. We've talked about this before last year when this really started to become common. But since that, the number of campgrounds instituting something called lock fees for reserving certain sites is increasing. You're finding this almost everywhere now. And we're reviving this topic because of an email we received this past week from one of our followers named Bruce.
He wrote, I am asking you to cover a topic that is trending in many private campgrounds across the country. The topic is site lock fees. This disturbing trend is infuriating many campers who enjoy the lifestyle, and many like to travel with friends or relatives. It is extortion of money under the threat of moving you from your reserved site. With 40 years of RVing experience, I am shocked that campers are actually being swindled into paying this fee. As an example, for you to pay your site fee in full 2 months in advance without the lot fee, I can call up the day before you arrive, reserve your site, pay the lock fee, and I have just taken your site from under you. No way this should be allowed to happen. I have personally asked who decides who gets moved or not, and the standard answer is the computer does the moving. Please address this very hot topic when you can. It is poisoning the industry, and that was from Bruce.
Bruce, we are not fans of lock fees either. And I don't know anyone who is, except for campground owners and maybe some folks with lots of money who don't care about paying more. So let's talk about these campground lock fees and why they exist. Because frankly, we are a bit side-eyeing this whole thing.
A lock fee is basically an extra charge you pay to guarantee you'll get the exact campsite you picked out when you booked. We're talking anywhere from $5 to $30, sometimes per day, sometimes a flat rate, depending on the campground. Without paying it, you might book a specific site, but the campground can shuffle you around to another spot of the same
Type, yeah. In
like
quotes, yeah.
same hookups or size if they feel like it. Sounds like a bit of a bait and switch, right?
And the rationale, according to the campgrounds, is that it's all about flexibility and fairness. They say it helps them better manage their sites. They can fit more campers, especially during busy times like the 4th of July or Labor Day. If the campground can move people around, they can optimize space and avoid turning away bigger rigs. That's their rationale. They claim it's a win-win for campers who really want that one special site. Maybe it's got a killer view or it's right by the playground for the kids. Pay the fee and it's yours. No questions asked. But here is where we get skeptical. First off, this feels like a cash grab dressed up as customer choice. Campgrounds are already charging you for the site, sometimes $50, many times much more than that a night. That's a lot. And now they want extra to actually give you what you thought you were booking in the first place. Come on. Back in the day, you could call up a campground, ask for your favorite site, and if it was free, it was yours, no extra fee. And now there's all this fancy reservation software campgrounds are using, and they've automated this whole lock-in process and slapped a price tag on it.
Some campgrounds are raking in 20 to 35% more revenue from just these fees, and that's not pocket change. That's a serious business model. And don't get me started on the we need flexibility excuse. If their software is so smart, why can't it figure out how to assign sites efficiently without nickel and diamond campers?
It's not like they're solving world peace here. It's just a grid of campsites. Plus, there is a very sneaky downside for campers. If you don't pay that lock fee, you might end up shuffled to a much less desirable site, even if you picked one you wanted for a reason, like being close to the bathroom.
That happened to us last summer when, with another couple, we booked 2 adjoining spots in a preferred area of a park in Maine. We booked those spots 2 weeks out. But when we showed up, the campground assigned the spots we reserved to other campers and offered us 2 spots far from each other in a much less desirable area of the park.
Yeah, that was one of the areas was right next to the road where there's all this traffic. And we had intentionally picked this other area that we reserved those spots. Anyway, we refused to take him. We also lost our deposit, and that is why I will never do business with 1,000 Trails Campground again. I am still steamed about this a whole summer later.
Then there's the argument that lock fees are optional. So what's the big deal? Sure, you don't have to pay, but when you're planning a family trip and want to be next to your friends or secure one that site that you just love, it's not really a choice, is it? And when even small campgrounds are jumping on this bandwagon, it's hard to avoid. I've seen folks on RV forums calling it a BS charge and comparing it to car dealerships tacking on document fees.
On the flip side, we get that campgrounds are businesses, and camping's gotten crazy popular since the pandemic, and they're dealing with higher demand and tighter margins and lock fees. Let's face it, they're just an easy way to boost profits while giving campers control. But it still stinks of exploiting that demand. If they're going to charge extra, at least throw in some other things, free bundles of firewood or better cancellation policy, not just the privilege of getting what you already paid for. And we got an email. We talked about this the other night on our Ask Us Anything live stream that we do every Sunday night on YouTube and Facebook and a bunch of other places. And Jenna, one of our followers, wrote this, and she said, I hate to be nickel and dimed, so no, I do not like lock fees. If the campground isn't charging enough, then they should increase the nightly fee. But stop with all the add-ons. Or if they have prime seasons like holiday weekends and festivals and summer, etc., increase the nightly fees for those. But I want to know upfront, one charge overnight so I can make informed decisions based on my budget and get the site that I reserved. Same goes for all those not optional fees, like a daily use fee, an activity fee, dump fees. And we heard from a whole lot of other people who felt the same thing. That is the deal with lock fees. They're sold as a way to make everybody happy, but we're not buying it's about camper satisfaction, because I don't know any campers that are happy with this plan.
Yeah, unless you got some prime site,
That you
to
took from
drool
somebody
for.
else, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they didn't pay the lock fee.
Those people wouldn't care, yeah.
Okay, so it's just a clever way to squeeze more money out of you while making it sound like you're the one in the driver's seat.
Next time you book, check the fine print. Maybe call the campground directly and tell them, try and sweet talk them first. Try and talk your way into your favorite site without that extra hit to your wallet. And if not, don't book there. Tell them why, and then get on social media and tell everybody else about it. If there is enough pushback, who knows? Maybe their greediness will be tempered a bit. What do you think about lock fees? I want to hear about those of you who've been ripped off like them. We'll collect them all. We'll publish them, and we'll make sure that the industry sees those comments. Send us your comments at Mike and Jen at rvlifestyle.com. All right, going to take a break, and when we come back, the social media buzz.
We just heard about a land offering out west for RVers in Arizona. They're selling 5-acre RV ranches starting at only $49,900. It looks amazing. It is at high elevation, so you get cooler temperatures, big mountain views, juniper trees, and green grasses. And it is near everything: the Grand Canyon, Lake Havasu, Kingman, Flagstaff, and Sedona. It's a perfect place to have a home base to explore the West, and it is right off famous Route 66. It's called Greenwood Ranches, and this is the second and final section of the community. We met the sales manager, really nice guy. He bought a property for his RV, and he's building a container home on it. Check out their website for a video tour and showing availability. It's pretty incredible. Visit the website to get details and set up a showing, ArizonaRVland.net. That's ArizonaRVland.net.
Kentucky Lake is one of the most visited sites in Tennessee. It's one of the biggest lakes east of the Mississippi and a great vacation spot, perfect for RVers. Tennessee Land and Lakes is launching a grand opening of new property at the lake. They're big properties that allow for RVs near Paris Landing State Park, right near the marina, golf courses, resorts, and a slew of other great attractions. It's one of the most popular parts of the lake, where it's at its widest and a really beautiful spot. There are large acreage, 5 to 29 acre sites in size, designed for privacy at great prices for the area with dedicated private access to Kentucky Lake. It's an ideal setup for RVers. Prices start at $99,900, and they've got woods and fields and views, cottages, and more with electric and high-speed internet. You can get details and a video tour at rvlands.net. Visit rvlands.net to get started. It's pretty incredible.
Now it's time for the social media buzz with Wendy Boyer. Wendy reports on the hot issues most talked about this past week on social media and our RV Lifestyle community group.
Hi, everybody. Over in our RV Lifestyle community, we get together every Thursday night and Sunday night live to chat about all sorts of things. And the conversation last week, the buzz around the community, seemed to be about trips, where people were going, where did they just get back from. And it's so much fun to hear all the excitement, because it is definitely camping season. And then over in our RV Lifestyle Facebook group, also lots of buzz about trips, but there was one post that caught my eye that I'd love to share with you, and it was from Rebecca. So everybody has a checklist for breaking up camp, or maybe not everybody, but a lot of people do. And usually when you have this checklist of things you need to do when it's time to leave your campsite, you have it written on maybe an app on your phone or a piece of paper, but not Rebecca. Rebecca shared her and her husband's unique checklist method, and it was really interesting. So what they do is they bought a couple dozen popsicle sticks of all colors. I think I saw yellow, green, orange, aqua, and they took a marker, a black marker, and they wrote down one chore per stick. So there were things like TV strap, HAVC off, toilet lid, Instapot ice maker on the floor, etc., written on these different popsicle sticks. And so when it's time to go, they spread these popsicle sticks on the counter, they grab a stick, go do the task, and put it in a basket when it's all done. And she showed this picture of their method. And boy, did it get people talking. There had to be nearly 200 comments. Most people loved it. Some people did not have a checklist, so it gave them the idea of creating one so they don't forget to do anything when it's time to clean up camp. And for Rebecca, she said she shared it because she and her husband found it's just really helpful to have this visual where you can immediately see by number of popsicle sticks how many things you still needed to do before you were ready to go. And since this helped so many people, I wanted to share it with you in case it could help one of you. And that's it for me this week. I'm Wendy Boyer, and I'll see you either in our RV Lifestyle community or Facebook group.
We have an invitation for you. It's an invitation to have fun, make friends, and find adventure by joining us at rvcommunity.com. And that's our private online community created exclusively for RV enthusiasts, away from the noise and the nastiness. You know what it's like on public social media, like Facebook. We truly believe that the journey is always better together.
And at rvcommunity.com, you're connecting with RVers who share your passions, from boondocking under the stars to swapping campfire recipes, capturing stunning landscapes through your camera lens, or even traveling with your four-legged co-pilots.
With over 24 special interest RV groups, there is a space for everybody. And best of all, there are no ads, no distractions, just real conversations and genuine friendships.
But that's not all. Join us at 3 exclusive rallies every year, held in breathtaking locations across North America. Share stories, learn from experienced travelers, and create unforgettable memories, because RVing is about the people you meet.
Now, you'll get direct access and coaching from Jen and I. We do regular live streams just for the community. There's instant chat. There's meetups in local areas and regional spots. And you're not just joining a community, you're becoming truly part of an RV family.
Come check us out at rvcommunity.com for more information. We're all about 3 things: having fun, making friends, and finding adventure.
That is how we live every day in the RV lifestyle community, because life's greatest moments happen when you dare to explore.
Now for the RV question of the week. The question, is it okay to fill my freshwater tank prior to going on a trip? I'm doing some primitive camping and there won't be any water nearby. And that was from Matthew.
Matthew, it is totally fine to fill your freshwater tank before you head out on primitive camping. And actually, it's a smart move because you're not going to have water nearby. Just make sure your tank is clean and sanitized beforehand to keep the water safe for drinking or cooking. And you might want to bring along some extra water in portable containers just in case, depending how long you're planning to be out there. And now that said, there is a downside to traveling with a full freshwater tank, because water weighs 8.3 pounds per gallon. So depending on what kind of an RV you have, that can add significant weight, and that will then reduce fuel efficiency. If you're also traveling over really rough roads for a prolonged period of time, that extra weight bouncing around adds extra strain to the holding straps that keep that tank in place. RVs are supposed to be engineered to handle all that, but if your RV is really old and maybe needs a little maintenance, I'd be a little concerned about that, but I think you'll be just fine. Most people do the same thing you're going to do. They fill it up with water before they go boondocking. You got a question for us? You can reach us at Mike and Jen at rvlifestyle.com. We love getting your questions. It's time for Mike and Jen's Storytime.
When things go wrong, a roadway cautionary tale.
This week, we have a cautionary tale about how even when you haven't done anything wrong, things can go wrong very quickly.
Now, this happened to us on I-75 south of Atlanta. just approaching the Macon turnoff.
We were in the right-hand lane, driving just under the speed limit in a Class C motorhome.
We had just navigated the usually horrid Atlantic traffic and started to relax. We must have timed our trip just right because the traffic jams weren't so bad. We were about an hour away from our destination.
There was one car ahead of us, and in front of that, a large semi-truck.
I saw it very clearly. The truck's right rear tire broke off a slab of concrete, maybe 2 feet by 2 feet. It was just like slow motion. I saw it bounce once, run into the car in front of me, and then bounce off to the other side of it.
I was driving, and I couldn't swerve left into the other lane because of traffic. There was a very narrow shoulder, so I turned towards it.
Now, the concrete smashed into the front of our RV with a loud thud, and Mike was able to get over to the shoulder and a bit off it onto the grass.
The car in front of us was occupied by two young girls. Their right front tire was shredded, and the side was dented. Nobody was hurt.
There was a car behind us occupied by an elderly couple. They also lost a front tire because after hitting us, the chunk of concrete kept bouncing down the road. It was lying just beyond them, out of the traffic lanes, in the grass.
Now, we had been hit pretty hard, but all our tires were fine. And we went down and bent over and looked underneath the RV, and we saw that the concrete had hit a glancing blow off one of our stabilizer jacks, and it had bent it back a few inches. That was the only damage that we had.
Later, at the campground, we were amazed to see it still worked and even offered a little leveling help. It was easily fixed at a repair facility.
Again, nobody was hurt by this.
But it was really scary and terrifying.
There was nothing any of us in the three vehicles could have done to avoid this. The police officer who responded to all this shook her head and said how incredibly lucky we were.
And others would have hit that concrete and when it bounced back into the traffic instead of the shoulder.
So fortunately, it didn't keep going on the road. So there is a moral to our story, and it's very clear.
Life can change in an instant on the highway.
And no matter how carefully you drive or how many precautions you take, sometimes danger finds you anyway.
So always stay alert, drive defensively, and remember, safety isn't just about what you do on the road. It's about being prepared for the unexpected, because the unexpected will happen.
You have any comments or questions? Maybe you've gone through similar things. Would love to hear. Mike and Jen at rvlifestyle.com is our email. That is the podcast for this week. We'll see you next week down the road.
Happy trails.